Welcome to Biography Central. You are listening to Life of Sri Ramakrishna, a complete biography. Chapter 27, Bereavements. At this time, Rameshwar, who was the head and financial support of the Chatterjee family, passed away at Kamarpukur, where he had gone to rest and recuperate, leaving 2 sons and a daughter. Rameshwar was prepared for the end, for he had been warned by Sri Ramakrishna before he left Dakshineshwar that he would never return. According to his wishes, his body was cremated on the roadside, so that his ashes might be touched by the feet of devout passers-by. Rameshwar possessed a royal heart which could never say no to any sannyasin or fakir. He even gave away the utensils of the house, for it was his profound belief that no man who had the welfare of others at heart could ever suffer from want. Naturally, he was widely mourned. His son Ramlal succeeded him at the Dakshineshwar temple. When the sad news reached Dakshineshwar, Sri Ramakrishna became greatly concerned for his aged mother. Chandradevi was very old and had suffered many bereavements, and this new stock might be too much for her. He prayed to the goddess in the Kali temple to sustain his mother in this affliction. Then he went to her with tears in his eyes and broke the sad news to her. He was agreeably surprised to find that she took it quite calmly, remarking, "This world is unreal. Everybody must die someday or other, so it is useless to mourn." He saw that in response to his prayer, the Divine Mother had pitched her mind to a high key, and he thanked her again for her kindness and for freeing him from anxiety. The Holy Mother, Sharada Devi, came to Dakshineshwar for the second time, probably in April 1874. She made the trip in the company of a party of women pilgrims from her village, who wished to bathe in the Ganges at Calcutta during a coming eclipse. She gradually fell behind because she was unable to walk fast. She told the rest not to wait for her, but to go on to Tarakeswar, where she would rejoin them the next day. All except 2 elderly women went on. The way led through extensive wastelands, notorious for dacoits. Evening was closing in, and the Holy Mother and her companions were becoming nervous and wondering what to do when they saw a tall, dark man with a long stick approaching at a rapid pace. They were much alarmed at first, thinking he might be a bandit, but when he came up to them and they explained their predicament, he offered his protection and that of his wife who was following him, and escorted them to the neighboring village. The next morning, he and his wife accompanied them to Tarakeswar, where they rejoined the rest of the party. The Holy Mother was filled with gratitude for their kindness, called them her father and mother, and made them promise to come to see her at Dakshineshwar. They kept their word and visited the Holy Mother a number of times at the temple garden, where they met Sri Ramakrishna, who treated them with much kindness. At Dakshineshwar, the Holy Mother lived in her old quarters, the concert room, with her mother-in-law. It was too small for 2 persons, and Sambhacharan built a hut for her on a piece of land adjacent to the Kali temple. Captain Vishwanath Upadhyaya, another devotee, of whom we shall presently speak, supplied the necessary timber. The Holy Mother moved to her new hut, where she had a maidservant to assist her. Every day, she cooked Sri Ramakrishna's food and brought it to him in the temple. The master used to spend some time there every day. Only once, because of heavy rain, did he stay overnight. After a severe attack of dysentery, she returned to Jarambati, probably in September 1875. Shortly after, she had a severe relapse, and her condition became critical. Sri Ramakrishna was grieved to hear of this and said to Hriday, "Well, Hriday, what if she should die without attaining the object of human life?" In her extremity, Sharada Devi went secretly to the temple of the local goddess, Simhavahini, and lay there without food, determined to end her life if she were not cured. A few hours later, she was given some medicine, which cured her in a few days. A few months after the Holy Mother's departure from Dakshineshwar, an important event took place in the Kali temple. It was the passing of Chandradevi in March 1876, on the 40th birthday of Sri Ramakrishna. She was very old, and for some time age had robbed her of much of her physical and mental powers, though she still retained her spiritual force. Hriday gave the following account of her death. One day, he was about to start for his native village, when he felt a strange hesitation as if the shadow of some approaching danger was upon him. He spoke of it to Sri Ramakrishna, who advised him not to go. 3 days passed quietly. Every day, Sri Ramakrishna spent some time with his mother and tended to her wants. On the 4th evening, he paid his usual visit to her and remained with her till midnight and left her fairly well. Next morning, her door remained closed till 8 o'clock, which was unusual. The maidservant called out, but got no response. Putting her ear to the door, she was frightened to hear stertorous breathing. She ran to inform Sri Ramakrishna and Hriday. The latter hastened to the spot, opened the door, and found the old lady unconscious. Minute quantities of milk and Ganges water kept her alive for 3 days. When her last moments arrived, she was taken to the brink of the Ganges. Sri Ramakrishna made an offering of flowers at her feet, and her soul quietly passed away. Being a sannyasin, he did not perform the funeral rites. These, as well as the Shraddh ceremony, were performed by his nephew, Ramlal. Later, Sri Ramakrishna had a desire to make oblations of water, Turpa, to his mother, as did other sons, but his fingers became stiff and separated, so that all the water ran out. He tried again and again, but without success, whereupon he wept. Later on, he heard from a man versed in the scriptures that in a certain stage of spiritual advancement the sadhaka is freed from the ordinary prescribed duties and cannot perform them. Sambhu Charan Malik, of whose devotion to Sri Ramakrishna we already know, succumbed to diabetes about this time. His wife was his worthy partner and served Sri Ramakrishna and the Holy Mother with great earnestness. The master went to see Sambhu on his deathbed and on his return remarked to Hriday, "The oil in Sambhu's lamp has run out." His words, alas, proved too true. Noble and God-fearing, Sambhu retained his courage to the last. Just a few days before his death, he remarked cheerfully to Hriday, "I am not at all anxious about the end. I am ready with my kit for the journey." Sambhu was one of those great souls whom the Divine Mother had shown to Sri Ramakrishna as one of his own, and on their first meeting the Master recognized him as such. Sambhu, as he used to say, was his second Razadar or supplier of necessities, appointed by the Mother herself after Mathar's death to look to his comforts. In this connection, we must tell of one incident of Sri Ramakrishna's life, which shows how deeply the spirit of truthfulness was ingrained in his nature, and how even in his unguarded moments the Divine Mother protected him. Sambhu had a dispensary for the poor in his garden. Learning that Sri Ramakrishna was a frequent sufferer from diarrhea, he advised him to take a few doses of opium and offered to give some before he left. Sri Ramakrishna accepted, but in the course of the conversation, both forgot about it. After taking his leave, the master went a few steps when he remembered about the opium. Coming back, he found that Sambhu was busy. Not wishing to trouble him, Sri Ramakrishna took a little opium from one of the men in charge and again set out for the Kali temple. But to his surprise, he found that though he was perfectly familiar with the locality, he kept straying into wrong paths. Casting his eyes behind, he could plainly see the path leading to Sambhu's place, but the way ahead was not clear. Wondering, he went back and again started for Rani Rosmani's garden, carefully noting the way. Again, he became confused. He could not find the right path, and felt a backward pull as well. After repeated struggles, it suddenly came to him that Sambhu had asked him to take the opium from him, not from his agent, who had no right to give it without permission. He might have been guilty of falsehood and theft if the Divine Mother had not deterred him. So he threw the package back through a window, calling out as he did so, "Look, I am returning your opium." Now as he set out for the temple, he could see the way clearly. There was no spell over his mind dash, and he safely reached it. Referring to this incident, he said afterwards, "It is because I have placed my whole responsibility upon the Mother, that she holds me by the hand and never allows me to stray even by an inch from the path." Captain Vishwanath Upadhyaya of the Nepal state, whom we have just mentioned, was descended from a line of brave and pious Brahmin ancestors. His father was a subader in the Indian army and used to worship the Lord Shiva even on the battlefield. Vishwanath was a great scholar and devotee. He had a passion for reading the scriptures and knew the Gita, Bhagavata, and Vedanta by heart. Every day, he worshipped his chosen deity with scrupulous attention to detail. He was a distinguished officer in the Nepal Raj, and at the time of which we are speaking, was in charge of the state timber yard opposite Calcutta. One time he saw in a dream a man surrounded by a circle of light beckoning to him to come and receive the highest spiritual knowledge. It was not long after that he heard that a great devotee was living in Rani Rasmani's garden at Dakshineshwar. He set out to meet him, and to his utter astonishment found him to be the man of his dream. He was so attracted to the master that he stayed the night there. Sri Ramakrishna treated him like an old friend. Thenceforth, Vishwanath visited Dakshineshwar frequently. Captain Vishwanath was a truth-loving man. Once some timber in his yard was carried away by a tide in the Ganges, causing great loss to the state. He postponed submitting the returns to headquarters for that year, in the hope that the following year's profit would make good the loss. A distorted version of the situation reached the authorities, and he was summoned to Kathmandu to explain. He was frightened, but resolved to tell the truth. Before setting out for Nepal, he came to Dakshineshwar and related everything to the master. Sri Ramakrishna said, "You have not stolen the timber. Put the real facts before the authorities, and they cannot but pardon you. Don't be afraid. The mother will protect you." Vishwanath felt greatly relieved by this assurance and cheerfully started on his journey. His frank avowal of the circumstances pleased the Durbar, who promoted him to the rank of colonel and sent him back to Calcutta as an ambassador. The master still lived on a high spiritual level, plunging into samadhi every now and then, sometimes remaining there for 3 days at a time. Vishwanath understood the master's lofty spiritual moods and came to look upon him as his guru. One day, he said to a friend, "I have read the Vedas and other scriptures. I have also met a good many monks and devotees in different places, but it is in Sri Ramakrishna's presence that all my desires have been fulfilled. To me, he seems to be the embodiment of the truths of the scriptures. You too, I am sure, will experience this in time." I hope you like this chapter. We need volunteers and sponsors to create content with even better quality and with more variety. If you wish to join this initiative as a volunteer or sponsor, please click the links given in description below. To help us reach more viewers, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Biography Central. Thank you for your time. It means a lot. Namaste.